Hello everyone, this is the beginning of a new set and we're now into April and we'll be working with line and wash this month. I'd like to give you free choice of subjects this time and have attached a list of suggestions for you. But I've decided to continue with the spring flowers at the moment. And as you just saw, I've placed a selection in a small watering can. It's a nice change to put more than one species of flowers together, and I'm hoping for a nice colourful and cheerful end result. Okay, to begin with, these are the colours that I've used. But to begin with, I did the drawing of the watering can with pencil because it's very easy to overbalance flowers in a vessel, and in fact I did have to adjust it. So if you do a similar thing, maybe it is a good idea just to draw your vessel first in pencil, then continue with your flowers. Then if they are too high for the size of the vessel, then you can lengthen the vessel or widen it or just adjust it to make it a better balance in the end. I actually did have to shorten mine because I kept the flowers quite close together and found that my vessel was way down here, and so it was just not right. But with it being in pencil, I could easily just adjust it. So that's just a little tip there. But I did then continue to do the drawing of the flowers with just the pen. There's little point in drawing it with pencil first and then again with pen over the top. Just carry on with your drawing with the pen and you'll find that it'll all come together. You're all good at drawing. But do try and hold your pen slightly looser and not so far down towards the point. That way you're going to get lovely loose marks and a much freer end result. Okay, so holding it like this is the best way. And if you feel that there's a mark or something that you've made that you don't like, just continue over the top and you'll find in a situation like this, it will actually just get lost. I've used a fine pen for these little spring flowers. It's a 0.5. So what you have to do is think about your subject and the size of the pen that you actually want to use to make the best end results. And with something as delicate as this, obviously a fine pen is going to be better. A hard, heavy line around those flowers would look awful, so be careful about that. I've decided to use, or try to use, this little dagger brush, which I find really quite useful for the line and wash. And what we've got to do this month is to remember that it is line and wash rather than just colouring in as if it's a colouring book. And because the subject is depicted already with the pen, it's going to be a lot easier just to wash over with these colours, not necessarily weak, but certainly nice and washy, but it enables you to leave lovely white paper and to go beyond your lines to free up the whole thing and make it a freer end result. So try to leave lovely white paper and try to create a freer approach. Varying your tones as well if you can. It isn't a matter of just getting right down there and colouring in, it's a matter of just washing over your colours. I'm using quite a lot of water as I usually do, and then allowing it to dry. I can go back on top if I need to, but hopefully I won't need to. So I've started with the daffies. Another one over here. I'll have to try and keep an eye on not going out the top of the page today as I did last week. Try to keep the camera down quite low so that you can see clearly what I'm doing. And I'm working fast, but you don't necessarily have to. You can easily take your time with it. There's plenty of time, but I'm always in a hurry when I'm demonstrating. So with the little grape hyacinths, I've mixed together some cobalt blue with some quinacridone magenta. That way I can get a little variety of purple and blue together. And some more here. And I won't stay rigidly with my pen drawing. If I feel at any point, and especially at the end, if I need to pop in a little bit more colour here or there, then I'll be able to see better where to put that. I've actually got some white vinca towards the top of the page here, so I'm going to have to put some shadow in there and very likely have to put a background on so that they stand out a bit more. But where they're actually sitting at the moment, they are actually in quite a lot of shadow. I could have made that vinca purple, but I decided that some white would look nice in the painting. I'll go back with the greens in a minute. I'll leave this one because it's right in the front and I don't want to smudge it. Right, some pink now. It's nice to put various subjects together, species together. We don't often tend to do this. It's going to hopefully make for a pretty end result. So these are hyacinths, little pink hyacinths, all from the garden. This brush is working quite well because I'm able to move quite quickly with it and stay quite loose. Keeping an eye on my subject all the time. Does seem a shame not to keep going with the flowers at the moment because they're so lovely. But at some point this month I'll try some different things. Such delicate flowers. Right. I can go back now, I think, and finish off those daffodils a bit. So allow your colours to run. Probably find it easier allowing your colours to run with this technique than if you just got a drawing with your pencil, because this way you can be loose but you've still got the overall shape that you've originally created. Didn't start the clock, so that's useless. You see, with this brush I can now start to bear down and get varying shapes with it for the leaves, etc. So try to think about good ways to use these brushes. Allow the brush to do the work for you. Right, lots of greenery to pop in there now. Not getting fussy with it at all, I'm just creating nice little washy marks. But that doesn't mean that I'm not being careful. I'm being as careful as I feel I need to be. It is possible to get quite loose with the pen, which hopefully as the month goes on we'll be doing a bit more of that. It's not so easy to be loose with the flowers because they're tiny, especially these ones. They're tiny and they've got to have definition. But for buildings and things like that, you can obviously be a lot more loose with your original drawing. So I should be able to fill in with some of this greenery. So as I said, I haven't drawn everything. I'm going to allow the picture some freedom and to dictate what's the best thing to do as the picture develops. So this little white flower that's in the front here is going to actually show up very well because it's got greenery around it, and it's also got part of the watering can to show it up. Going to put a little bit more blue coming through here, as if there's very possibly another tip of grape hyacinth there. So try to make it your own by, creating extra little crevices with colour. Now I need to work on the watering can and think about whether or not I'm going to put in a background. Right, I've used neutral tint, or I'm going to use neutral tint, I've got it mixed up here, with a little bit of blue in it. And I'm going to keep it quite light because I don't want it to overpower. I'll try also, yeah, that's nice. And I'll try also to leave lots of white paper. So I think I'll use wet on wet. Little dark area in there, obviously. So using the flat of my brush here, just to pop the water down. This is the darker side here. So I'm not putting water everywhere. Working around that little flower, which I'll finish off in a bit. Loading the brush. I really want it to be very light this side. So lots of water with the mix. I'm dropping water back on to give it a little bit of texture. It's got strange markings. And now top side of it is actually filled in to about here where the gap is, and you can't actually see that, so here we go, around the handle. It's gone a bit darker up there because I feel that it will give some strength throughout the centre of the picture where the focal point's meant to be. So do always create a focal point. Try to get that in first when you start your painting or drawing. I think we could have a bit more shadow under here, that little flower, casting some shadow down. And I'm going to leave it this side really light. I've left white paper there. Just adding another little bit of colour here, maybe it's rust. I seem to be into rust. I almost chose some rusty milk churns to paint today, but stopped myself. But yeah, I think that helps actually, putting this. This is the sort of thing you can kind of think about as you go along and decide that, yes, that's a good idea, and go ahead and do it. Right, so this is all drying up nicely at the top here now. So just popping a little bit more greenery around and helping to bring out these white flowers a bit. So I think I'm deciding that it doesn't necessarily need a background all around it. I think it's nice and light as it is and fresh looking. So I think I'm going to forego the background. But it does need to be grounded, so it doesn't have to be anything particularly heavy. But this is the darker side, so I'm going to just pop some water down. And then use a little selection of colour that I've already got out in my palette. And maybe it will come up with something slightly different to the watering can, but nevertheless not too different. So maybe it seems to be creating a nice pale grey with a bit more red in it. It's got that pink going on. So letting that float into the water. making its own way. Keep the edges light so that it creates a nice soft floaty edge and doesn't overtake. But I will actually just put a bit more depth underneath the can so that it's got a nice dark area to stand on. Right. Just got to finish off that pretty little flower. Doesn't need very much. So hopefully you'll find this line and wash nice, exciting thing to paint this month and create some nice little vignettes and things. Part of the watering can got missed out here, look. So here we go, pop that in. So it's not dry. Hopefully when it's dry it's going to flatten because it's crinkled slightly. So because I've used quite a lot of water and didn't put tape around, it is stuck down, but you still need to put tape around, so think about that. Right, so at this point it would be a good idea to allow it to dry and then put other little bits of dark in here and there perhaps. It isn't quite dry yet, but I guess there are tiny little touches that I could put in. So wait until it's dry, wait until you've finished and see what else you need to do. But in fact, I don't necessarily need to do anything. It's kind of looking okay. And it's washy. So, nice little card you could make with line and wash. Nice little pictures for people. So I'm not too unhappy with that. It's worked out okay. Take your time, take a bit more time over it than I have. I may go in and put a few more darks between the flowers, but at the moment it's not a good idea to do that because it's going to create marks within the flowers that I don't want. So that's it then for this week. Do remember that it's line and wash and that you do just put little washy marks on. And so keeping it nice and light and free and simple if you're a beginner and you haven't created anything like this before or used this technique. But challenge yourselves if you have used this technique before and create something that's, you know, a little bit more fuller perhaps, and something with putting, if you do flowers, put more than one species together. And next week I'll continue with this technique, but not as yet decided on the subject. We'll see. Maybe it'll be the rusty milk churns, but I don't think so. I think at the moment we need to maybe continue with the flowers because they are so nice, and this is just another way to depict them. So have a good week everyone, and I'll be with you again next Monday. Bye.